come that the location of the pyramids strikingly coincides with the location of the stars in the constellation of Orion, and on which star the most important of them, the Pyramid of Cheops, points? We think you will be surprised when you learn what other secrets hide pyramids in Saqqara and on a plateau of Giza. This amazing sensation has the power to turn your perception of everything you knew before upside down. Do you want to know what Egyptologists can no longer hide? Then watch this video to the end. The pyramids are one of the greatest mysteries of mankind, shrouded in many mysteries and contradictory theories. Despite centuries of efforts of researchers, there is still no consensus on what the true purpose of these grandiose structures was and how they were erected. The unraveling of these mysteries beckons scientists and ordinary people, but so far remains an unattainable goal. For a long time, Egyptologists adhered to the traditional version, according to which the pyramids served exclusively as tombs for the burial of pharaohs. However, in recent years, more and more supporters of alternative theories, as well as some scientists, put forward ideas that the pyramids had a much more complex and multifaceted purpose. One of the most surprising discoveries was that the diagonal of one of the faces of the Pyramid of Cheops is oriented strictly along the meridian to the North Pole, with an accuracy that surpasses even the most modern observatories. Moreover, the arrangement of pyramids on a plateau of Giza surprisingly repeats configuration of stars in constellation Orion. Another intriguing detail is the fact that the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza points precisely at the polar star. Such incredible astronomical accuracy raises a legitimate question. Was it necessary if the pyramids served only as a resting place for the pharaoh? Or is there something more behind it? Some deep meaning that is still beyond our comprehension? One of the most intriguing theories suggests that the pyramids are peculiar energy nodes of our planet, concentrating powerful flows of cosmic energy. Supporters of this idea pay attention to the amazing location of the Pyramid of Cheops, which in their opinion cannot be accidental. According to some calculations, meridian and parallel, passing through the top of this pyramid, divide the surface of the Earth into equal parts, delimiting land and oceans. Thus, relative to this point, north and south, east and west have equal areas of water and land. Meanwhile, scientists from the United States offer a more down-to-earth explanation of the phenomenon of the pyramids based on scientific data. They believe that the Giza Plateau, on which these majestic structures are located, stands on a huge aquifer. Movement of water in this layer, in their opinion, led to occurrence of electric charge. And ionized air in mines of pyramids functioned on the principle of automobile accumulator, accumulating and storing energy. Proponents of the idea of the existence of ancient, highly developed civilizations often cite as evidence for their theory the fact that many ancient buildings were erected using technology still unavailable to modern mankind, or only recently mastered by us. One of the brightest examples of this kind is the Temple of Jupiter in Baalbek, which, like the pyramids of Giza, is built of giant stone slabs, fitted to each other with incredible precision. The error between the blocks does not exceed 2 millimeters, and in the joints cannot be slipped even a knife blade. This striking feature of ancient constructions was noted by archaeologists and historians for many centuries, and still remains a subject of admiration and amazement. The question involuntarily arises: who were these ingenious builders of the past, who possessed such perfect skills and technologies? How did they manage to lift and install stone blocks weighing dozens or even hundreds of tons at dizzying heights with jewel-like precision? Even with the use of modern construction technologies and powerful machinery such as Liebherr and Terex cranes, the erection of such structures would have been an extremely difficult task. And if we take into account that in ancient times all works were carried out exclusively manually, without the use of any mechanisms, the scale and grandiosity of these buildings simply amaze the imagination. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus mentioned in his works that about 100,000 people worked on the creation of the Pyramid of Cheops for at least 20 years. However, he did not leave any information about where such a huge army of builders was located and how it was supported. Other traditional sources assert that the basic labor force at erection of pyramids was made by slaves who used primitive devices such as winches, inclined planes, and drags for transportation and lifting of blocks. And though there are written and artistic evidences confirming this version, common sense suggests that such method of construction was hardly possible in practice. In an attempt to solve this mystery, Japanese researchers decided to go for broke and recreate the process of building a pyramid using only ropes and sledges, as it was supposedly done by the ancient Egyptians. However, the experiment turned out to be a failure. The embankments on which the blocks were supposed to be rolled to the top collapsed under their own weight, and people physically could not cope with moving huge loads. Often a whole team of dozens of people simply had no place to turn around. It was not without fantastic theories. One of them suggests that the stone blocks were delivered to the installation site by air, using some form of levitation. And although artificial levitation using ultrasound is known to the world since 1979 year, it almost half a century ago managed to recreate scientists in the laboratories of California in the Soviet Union. To talk about the possibility of such a movement of multi-ton slabs in ancient times is not necessary, because even in modern experiments manage to levitate only objects with extremely small mass. In scientific circles, it is generally believed that the age of the Pyramid of Cheops is about 4,500 years. However, when it comes to the true purpose and origin of these majestic structures, there are serious contradictions and disagreements. Even experts in geography put forward hypotheses questioning the generally accepted dating. They pay attention to the fact that once the pyramids were erected along the bed of the River Nile, which is now at a considerable distance from them, about 13 kilometers. If to assume that the tombs were really located on the coast, then for that the river retreated from pyramids on such distance, it would be required on the most modest estimations not less than 30,000 years. This argument makes us think about possible underestimation of the age of ancient Egyptian monuments. Moreover, studies show that the foundation of one of the pyramids is older than the base of the Cheops pyramid itself. Some independent Egyptologists are convinced that the Great Pyramid was superstructured over a pre-existing structure, or rather, over the whole underground city. They believe that the narrow descent leading inside the pyramid actually connects it to a network of living or once inhabited grottos and halls created back in the dynastic period. These unofficial but still serious theories, put forward by whole groups of scientists, question the generally accepted ideas about the time of creation of the pyramids. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence in favor of an earlier dating of the complex is the findings of John West. He found out that the body of the Great Sphinx is covered with characteristic vertical furrows, which could be left only by streams of water. And, as we know, the Sahara Desert was green and blooming about 10,000 years ago. Researchers have high hopes for the full decipherment of the texts of the pyramids in Saqqara, believing that it will help shed light on the mysteries of Giza, despite the belonging of the rulers of these necropolises to different dynasties. The process of deciphering the ancient manuscripts has been underway for a long time, and some of them have already been solved. However, according to the latest data, further progress in this direction may face serious difficulties. The fact is that each of the Egyptian hieroglyphs has several meanings, and their correct interpretation is possible only taking into account the semantic context of the entire text. Lert Scrampton, the creator of special software for deciphering, notes that hieroglyphs often form a kind of abbreviations and only in combination with certain signs acquire specific meaning. According to the scientist, the majority of texts in the pyramids are devoted to cosmological concepts. The inscriptions speak about the change of seasons and days, about the sun, the moon, the stars of Orion, and Sirius. Curiously, when preparing tombs for pharaohs, the architects never used the concept of death as if it did not exist at all. Instead, the hieroglyph meaning movement to the west was used to denote the end. It is known that the ancient Egyptians did not believe in the extinction of the soul. They believed that man, like the sun, sets in the west and is reborn in the east. This leads to some interesting speculations. If the Egyptians talked so much about the cosmos, perhaps they knew much more about distant planets and their inhabitants than is commonly believed. It is possible that they had knowledge of the true purpose of the pyramids, and further work on deciphering ancient texts will help to shed light on these mysteries.